everyone. I'm Jennifer Brown. I'm the interim CEO of SOCAN, and I have the honor today of getting to moderate, I guess, or ask a couple of questions of the past presidents of the Screen Composers Guild of Canada as they celebrate their 40th anniversary. So Tonya, you're here representing your dad, right? And I'll let you explain that a bit better. But, what are your recollections about your dad, Chris Dedrick's contributions to the SCGC?
It was Paul was actually part of the SCGC back then, the Guild of Canadian Film Composers, the GCFC, getting their certification of the Status of the Artist Act. So I think when my dad came in, which was the early 2000s, like maybe 2003, they had just gotten this certification. So there was a real push. I think, Glenn, you were involved in it as well with, sort of having that ability now to negotiate on behalf of the English speaking media composers in Canada. So there was a lot of meetings with CTV, so that was like a real focus for my dad when they were getting into that advocacy work with the negotiations there. But as a person, which I feel like I can talk a little bit more about, is how passionate he was about being part of the seminars and communications with members and wanting to make sure that they were involved and that they felt and knew that the Guild was theirs. They put together the Chris Dedrick Music Fund. And so what we do now is every year, the SCGC has this cash award that we give to one SCGC member a year. And it's just enough that they could afford to hire live musicians on their projects. And so that's sort of how we keep his legacy going, and it feels really special and great that the SCGC can be involved in something that has to do with his legacy.
So Tonya, how does SOCAN and the Guild work together, particularly in the advocacy area?
SOCAN can understand our sector and the needs of our sector, and I think that SOCAN's had all of these years to and the Guild and the relationship and the communication about our activities, what's new with us, and then SOCAN's support with that. If it's speaking on our behalf when SOCAN has that opportunity, providing us information for some of our studies to collect data. And I think it's a lot about communication and sharing of information.
Let's go on to the next president then, Marvin Dolgay. Curious, how did the SCGC adapt to the changing times during your tenure as president?
Well, the whole dynamic and the whole marketplace had been changing so much. The idea of film and media and television and our phones and the digital environment was starting. I mean, it was on. We knew it was happening. It wasn't as entrenched as it was now, but there was no doubt that that's where it was going. And the idea of changing the brand and attracting younger composers, as people were writing for different types of screen mediums, including the phone. We went back and forth with all sorts of media, composers, all this stuff. And it was just a way forward. There's a great understanding from our generation that the times had changed. Our models were different. The way it was working with SOCAN, with performance rights royalties, with computers, with the technology, all that stuff was so far out of the box. In fact, even the concept of mentorship was changing, in the fact that some of these younger composers could teach us some things. We didn't understand some of the technologies and how they were doing and how their clients were approaching them. So it's very, very important for the Guild to really step up and become a little more current, get active with younger members, get younger members on the board, get some succession planning. And part of that branding was very, very important to that end.
You really made it a mission to bring SCGC to more of an international level. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
The concept of territories was going away, that our problems were the same problems as we were finding in Australia, as we were finding everywhere else. And the line between a composer and a songwriter, as far as some of that stuff, as far as performance royalties, mechanical royalties, et cetera, was blurring. And we really had to get on the same page, even if it was for government relationships, et cetera. The whole idea of going internationally was really because the territories were becoming one, and we really needed a common voice. Our issues were the same, and we needed a better voice internally, within ourselves, and within legislation around the world. And when we get together, what our issues are the same as everybody else's now. Netflix is the same, Amazon is the same, et cetera, et cetera. Spotify for songwriters. It's one territory, and we have to speak with one voice.